In this video, we will define engagement and what that looks like in the social work practice. We will be discussing on how to engage with parents over the phone and engagement in the beginning, middle, and end stages of the session.
Engagement is defined as the process through which a client begins to actively participate in their treatment. The therapeutic process of engagement is universal to all client and social work interactions, whether they are voluntary or involuntary client. In social work practice, engagement is both a process and an outcome. It requires the effective and balanced use of helping skills and protective authority to produce an ongoing working client relationship that results in the pursuit and accomplishment of agreed upon goals. Engaged clients are more likely to bond with therapists and counselors, endorsing treatment goals, participate to a greater degree, remain in treatment longer, and report higher levels of satisfaction.
So phone parent engagement. It's important to introduce yourself and where you are calling from. So questions to consider while you're engaging with the family over the phone is, was the referral source knowledgeable about family therapy? Are they able to clarify what the family expects of therapy? So it's important to clarify the need for mental health services by validating their feelings and acknowledging their strengths for seeking services. It's important to also increase caregiver efficacy by identifying attitudes and previous experiences with their therapeutic services. So it's important to inquire if the child has received counseling services before. What was that like for them? How was that experience like for them? Were there any recommendations given for them? It's also important to inquire if there is anything that may impact the family from coming to sessions, such as transportation issues, physical and medical limitations, and any cultural considerations. So what impact will the family's culture, style of relating, and our current reality have on the chances of successfully beginning the therapeutic process? It's also important to discuss their concerns or issues and focus on immediate concerns with therapy. So the million-dollar question is, what are the family's concerns, fears, and or worries about therapy? Encourage the caller to make a list of the following for the appointment. So what are their goals for treatment? What are their concerns about treatment? The parent and guardian roles and the appointments. Strengths the child and family possess, and documents they will need to bring, such as parent ID.
I'll be discussing the middle stages that happen during trying to engage with the caregiver. So when interacting with the caregiver, letting them know how today's session is going to be. So like what to expect, their reasons for seeking treatment, as well as establishing goals for treatments and working together to reduce any obstacles that may arise. And discussing the child's, challenges or problems, and as well as showing empathy while review the caregiver's understanding of the treatment and remind them their strengths as a parent and how that can be a valuable role in the treatment process, and discussing what's worked for them in the past and approaches that have been less helpful for them. And when it comes to engaging with the child themselves, build a strong collaborative relationship with the child, and asking open-ended questions for the child's understanding of what will be taking place, so that they have an understanding of what's going to be worked on during the sessions, and connect more about learning the child's interests and try to engage them in activities that that they'll find enjoyable.
In the final moments of the first therapy session, it's often viewed as the spontaneous and unpredictable moments shared between the client and therapist. It's important to know that the therapists have their own style of ending the sessions, and that no one way to end the session should be rigidly held. Rather, the dynamic of the session ending calls upon the therapist to prioritize empathy, validation, and support. For instance, when leaving a hard session, try to be aware of the time so that there is space for closure, in which the therapist can summarize the conversation, but also acknowledge that the client and the therapist are working on an important issue that may need to be continued at the next session or sessions. When ending a session, it's important to also set appropriate limits to ending the sessions. For instance, ending the sessions on time and giving the client notice that there are 5 minutes left to the session. Therapists can also collaborate with the client in how they want to end the session and see what works for them.
Thank you for watching this video from the students of the Master of Social Work program at California State University Northridge. Gracias por ver este video de parte de los estudiantes del programa de la Maestría de Trabajo Social en la Universidad Estatal de California Northridge.